code 17 cities, the unincorporated areas of San Diego County, some 39 communities. And so we make the paper available to our churches every week, as well as having single copy that you may obtain at retail outlets or newsstands. And so our theme is that a people without a voice cannot be heard, and we are here to be your voice. You may reach us this evening as we do this program at 858-251-6111, or you may go to godradio1.com and call in your comments or email. Dr. Thompson will pick it up. I'm joined this evening by Ms. LaTanya West, the managing editor of The Voice and Viewpoint. She always knows in advance what the paper is going to be saying tomorrow when it comes out. And so she's got the inside scoop on that, along with Dr. Leonard Thompson III. And so in addition to Dr. Thompson being with us, we are privileged this evening to have Mr. Nicholas Hoskins with us. And he has been a victim of the pretext stop by police, made a very outstanding presentation at a recent meeting, and he has suffered an experience that most of us are most concerned about. So we're going to hear from him in a moment, but I wanted to not only hear from Dr. Thompson, but I wanted to give LaTanya a moment to give us a quick highlight of what's coming, and then we'll know what we're looking for.
Well, Miss West, you go first.
Okay, ladies first, huh? Well, good evening, everyone. And I think this will be a very interesting issue for you all to check out. We've got an article on hate crimes, history of the hate crimes. Now they've changed over time. It's really quick read, but very interesting if you want to know that. We've also got an article on the black vote. Really interesting information there. So if you're curious about what's happening with the black vote in this election season, definitely check that out. And also, last but not least, an update on the reparations bill in the California state legislature and the controversy that's happening there with the stall of that legislation and the funding around it. So check it out.
Well, I'm a little disturbed that it's a stall. You know, I done already spent the money on investments, and so I'm waiting for my reparations. I want the mule too, though.
Yeah,
because
I heard that.
I can make some money off that mule. Yes, I can. Or give me some goats. You know what I'm saying? We putting the goats to work. Dr. Warren, as you started off the conversation, you talked about a pretext stop.
Yes.
Could you define what that means as you go into this? Because I know a lot of people said, "What type of stop is that?"
That's when you're driving down the street and you happen to be a person of color in particular, and the cops pull you over, and they tell you that maybe you got a light out, or that you didn't come to a complete stop at a stop sign, which most people don't. And then they want to, before they ask for your driver's license and your registration, if you are a black male, they ask you, are you on parole or probation? And that's an important question for them, because if you are on parole or probation, you have, as a condition of that status, you have waived your Fourth Amendment right to search and seizure. And so therefore, if the answer is yes, then normally they're going to ask you to get out of the car, and they're going to go search the car. And we have all kinds of situations, like we're going to hear from Mr. Hoskins tonight, about his experience and how what started out as a stop really wasn't a simple stop. It was an excuse, because the statistics show that more people of color are stopped under pretext, false pretenses. We want to look at this, that, or the other. And even though courts have held that if you do that and often you find something, well, when it comes to a search, normally under the Fourth Amendment, if you're doing a search, if you find something that's not in the search warrant, then you really can't use it. And it's under the law, it's called a fruit of the poisonous tree. You didn't get permission to do it. So most of us don't know that, and so we've seen all kinds of incidents of stops that turned bad, like the one in Minnesota, where supposedly the female officer stopped this guy over a traffic citation, thought she was reaching for a taser, ended up killing him in the car in broad daylight. And so these are what we call pretexts. And in addition to hearing from my guest this evening, I had a very moving letter from his mother talking about these stops. And she said something that was so interesting because I dealt with it editorially even before I met her. She said that the mayor and the chief of police and all these people needed to resign because when we have these hearings and these discussions, then the police start talking about some policy modifications and they're going to look at policy. And so many times a conservative Supreme Court has ruled in favor of stops putting more value on the policeman's judgment from his experience than what the law actually says. And so the leading case in all of this before the cases before us was a case in the 60s, I believe it's called Map v. Ohio. And so it all comes back home now because so many things have changed. Can they take your cell phone? Do you have a right to it? Can they force you to let them search your car? And they can try to be persuasive, but you don't have to let them search your car. All right. And so we got all of these kind of things going. And I'm particularly interested in Mr. Hoskins sharing his story because he's going to bring a dimension to it that I've seen none of the cases deal with. And that is the harm that you suffer as a result of it and whether or not there's any effort to make it any better. Mm-hmm. And so I hope that kind of gives people an idea because we see black folks pulled over. We saw families being curved and handcuffed. And so we've raised a whole bunch of noise about that so that we're not supposed to be seeing that anymore. I've never seen anybody white curved in La Jolla, handcuffed and put on the curb and go through. They don't do that. Okay.
Well, Dr. Warren, let's be fair. We do see people on the curb. You know what I'm saying? They just don't have handcuffs and they're being assisted to their feet.
Well, they're probably serving coffee to the cops.
And giving water and,
yeah.
Just giving hugs and telling them
it's they do that. They give them hugs and coffee and cookies and stuff, But so, they're not treated the same way we are.
Exactly. And we even see that we, as African Americans in the different parts of the city, are not treated the same as other people are. And so let's get into it.
All right. So, Mr. Hoskins, you want to give us just a quick overview from what your experience was, because I think that it sounds best coming from you. And so just speak up if you do so we make sure we have enough sound for the people out there.
Okay. My name is Nicholas Hoskins. I'm a San Diego native. Yeah, pretty much. I never really had too many good experience with the police. Starting as 12 years old, and I used to get pulled over and searched, all that stuff. And this that last time was the time it got more serious and more scary. I just left a barbecue on my way to go pick my son up from school. So he used to get dropped off at the bus stop from around 4:30 to 4:50. So I believe I left out around like 4:24 or something like that. I'd get there in 10 minutes. And yeah, I'm on my about to get on the freeway. I noticed like about 4 or 5 police cars behind me. I'm wondering what they're doing. Like, why is it so thick? What is going on? Then I noticed they put their little turn signals on, so they followed me on the freeway. And they put their lights on. The officer got out, asked to speak to me. I gave him my license and everything, cooperated. Then he comes back and asks me to step out, so he wanted to search the car for weapons. Oh, yeah, but the whole reason for the stop, though, they said I didn't come to a complete stop at a stop sign that was 2 blocks away.
Okay. That's the point that we made about not just because so many people don't come to a complete stop.
Yes.
And that's the part that's a pretext because it's not really about the stop or he would just give you a ticket. Did he ask you if you were on parole or probation?
No. Like they had ran my name and my license, everything checked out, and he just came back and asked me to step out the car to make sure there was no weapons. I believe I think he asked me if there was weapons in the car. I told him no, and he said, we want you to step out so we can make sure.
Did he have any reason why he would think there were weapons, or is it assumed that all black people are armed? I don't know.
I think he just assumed. I don't know yet. My history probably popped up on the computer or something. But
So when you stepped out of the car, then he proceeded to search the car?
no, they broke the window and took me out in handcuffs.
Okay, that's right, because you didn't offer to get out of it. And so then they broke the window.
Yes.
And did they unlock you, or did they try to pull you through the window?
No, after they broke the window, I told them I'd get out and unlock the door.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I cooperated.
Well, you would be interested in knowing that we raised this question on Black Men and Women United with a couple of the police officers because we were concerned. And one in particular was retired, so he didn't have any vested interest in covering up anything. And so the response was that when people don't comply, then they have the right to use what they consider reasonable force, which is the breaking of windows. But there's nothing to suggest that they had a right to break your window because they never they told you, did they tell you in advance it was because you didn't stop at the stop sign?
Yeah, that was the whole reason for the stop. I don't know what the weapons.
Okay, so it was an unreasonable stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't connect the stop sign to weapons.
Yeah.
That's
One
why
of the-
I was being so difficult about it.
One of the things that if I heard you right, and maybe I am projecting, but didn't you ask for a supervisor to be brought to the scene?
Yes, I asked for a supervisor to see if maybe a supervisor gave me more, like if something happened in the neighborhood or something, if I fit a description, but they wasn't trying to give me too much information. So I already, from my little wrongful conviction experiences, I get anxiety around the police. I really just, I kind of seen them do a lot of foul stuff to people in jail. Yeah, people in handcuffs. I just don't really like to, I don't like to engage with them at all.
Did a supervisor ever come?
No, they never complied with that. And
Okay.
that was the thing I kept on saying. He kept saying, I would like a supervisor on the scene. I'd like a supervisor on the scene. And at that point, once the supervisor's request, they're supposed to still secure the vehicle.
Right.
But they're supposed to also, if someone's requesting a supervisor, to contact and make contact with a supervisor. So my question would be the follow-up to see if anybody called a supervisor in. Did a supervisor or a sergeant or a lieutenant ever come on the scene?
No.
Okay.
And if I can just interject too, from what I saw of the video, you weren't being difficult at all. You were very calm, very clear. You conducted yourself very well. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
if I didn't, I probably would have got beat up or killed.
So after this, they didn't do that. Then they took you in.
They put me in handcuffs. I was sitting in the back of the police car while they were searching the car. They searched everything, pulled my dashboard up, searched the trunk, threw all my property, everything around. Yeah, it was a big mess. And after that, they took me down. They said they was arresting me. And they took me down to the station.
Did they tell you were under arrest?
No, they just got in the car and drove off.
They never told you were under arrest,
No,
even when they handcuffed you and put you in the car.
no, they just handcuffed me, put me in the car, and searched the car.
And then they drove off. So
Yeah,
what
they
happened
searched
when
the
you got
car, and
when?
they didn't find anything. They took me down to the downtown.
And what happened when you got downtown?
They asked if I wanted to speak to a detective. At that point, I'm irritated, so I just stayed in the back seat, quiet, just staring at him. And he said, "You're free to go," and he gave me a ticket. And he told me my car got impounded. They didn't tell me what where it was at. They just told me my car was impounded. And the car
Did
was
they
impounded.
say why your car was impounded?
No, he let me go with the ticket and told me to call a number to find out where my car was.
and what was the ticket for?
I
What?
think it said resisting and delay of arrest.
The ticket was for what?
Resisting and delay of arrest, and they gave me a court date.
So how did you resist arrest?
I don't know. It was another wrongful arrest. That's why I don't like cooperating with them or talking to them at all,
What-
because they abuse their power.
You had your license, your registration, and your insurance.
Yes.
Okay. So if you had not had one of those things, then they would have had grounds to impound your car. But with all three of those things present, they still impounded it without saying anything? Why?
Yes. On the receipt of that. Oh yeah. After they released me, they said I was being detained. But on the receipt of the tow, because they said they mailed me a receipt of the tow, and on the receipt it says arrest.
They said what?
They
Arrest.
said the reason for tow was arrested. but the police at the downtown said I was being detained.
Oh, okay. So then that's the reason for impounding. The arrest was the reason for impounding the car.
But it was
Yeah.
inconsistent.
But
There was
no, it was just
inconsistency there.
contradictory because when I
Yeah.
went down there, they said I was never arrested. I was being detained, but I was in handcuffs and I wasn't free to go.
But you were never arrested because you were never told that you were
Yeah,
arrested. You were unlawfully detained.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So the damage to your car, the toll fees and everything, were you responsible for that, or did
Yes.
you get reimbursed?
I filed an appeal, but they haven't responded to it yet.
Who did you file the appeal with?
With the city of San Diego, they send you a form on that same thing. I told you I got the receipt.
Risk management.
Yeah, they give you an appeals form, and
Okay.
I
Did-
put it in. I forgot it's called the certified mail. I sent it back in certified mail, and I haven't heard nothing from it since.
What was the total damage that you listed for all of that?
I don't think I listed the actual number, but it was somewhere close to $1,000. So it was like $250 to get the window fixed, $350 plus tax to get it out of the tow, cleaning it, the detail, everything. Yeah, I was like, yeah, it was.
Okay. So risk
My brake was broke from the tow.
risk management is the entity responsible for paying you for damage from the city, number one. It's also tricky because you can't even sue the city until after you get your, as I recall, after you get your letter from risk management, because they want you to exhaust the administrative part. So have you sought counsel, a lawyer that deals with these?
Yes, I'm being represented by the law firm Timothy Scott right now. So yeah, we filed a tort claim and everything. They denied it, and we filed a lawsuit, I believe, last week.
Okay.
My question to you is, you were in the process of picking up your son. What happened with your son? Was he able to be picked up, or was he there left?
He was left for hours until I was able to get, because they took my phone, so I had no way to contact his mother or grandma. He's calling me. He doesn't know what happened. Yeah. So by the time I got my phone, it was about like 2.5 hours later. And
Did the policeman know that? Did they know
You
that?
told them you would?
I told them that in the video that I had to go pick my son up, and I think they just to be difficult, or they just wanted to prolong the stop. I low-key think it was all retaliatory since I didn't want to cooperate with.
So how many officers were involved in this arrest?
I remember it was just 4 or 5 police cars, and I just two in each, so it's probably about like 10.
Okay. Were any of them black?
No.
Okay, that's just an accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were not black officers involved.
Yeah, all white. From my recollection, it was all white officers and one white female.
Okay. Did
I believe
all
the one that actually broke the window with the flashlight.
who broke the window?
The white female officer.
She broke the window.
Yes. And I think a couple of them started helping her.
And so because you didn't open the door and get out, and according to our retired source, they could do that, but they still have to have probable cause. I haven't heard probable cause here.
Yeah, I had asked them for that in the video. I said, what was the probable cause? They didn't have no reasonable suspicion, nothing, because from my understanding of the law, that it had to be like a crime take place for them to have suspected a crime took place, and none of the above happened.
Do you think that their response to you is after they ran your license and everything, they saw your background?
Yeah, I think they kind of ran my plate and my name popped up.
Okay.
Yeah, and they probably seen like the last, because it's still on my record that they never formally dismissed the wrongful conviction.
Okay.
The Supreme Court dismissed it, the Court of Appeals dismissed it, and then San Diego put time served. So this is San Diego Superior Courts. So I'm going through like an expungement process with that because it's hard for me to maintain get a job.
But was it still on your record even though it had been dismissed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did the record show that it had been dismissed?
It's hard for me to get good jobs based with that those charges on my record. They kind of
Because what he said is that San Diego, everybody dismissed it, but San Diego said time served. So they didn't dismiss it. They just said that, they're not going to.
my attorney said they never gave me a formal dismissing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was this your first time noticing that? That there was no formal.
It was a big delay with my release process too. I think they delayed my release process a couple months behind that because the prison wanted the formal dismissal paperwork, and the judge had just sent a order of release, but the prison was saying that wasn't sufficient. They need that specific paperwork, and they did it anyway. I got out. I don't. My attorneys have managed it, but it's still still on my record.
Just as a follow up, how is your son doing now, knowing why you were detained and why you were not there? How is he doing now? Because I can imagine it was very traumatizing waiting for
Yeah.
dad and dad never showed up, and knowing that dad answers the phone and he wasn't
Yeah, the
answering the phone.
Yeah, at the time I think he probably thought he was being abandoned or something. I don't know. Yeah, but after I got to talk to him and stuff, then he seen the video on TikTok and everything. So yeah.
Did they take your phone, or they just denied you the opportunity to make the call?
No, when they arrested me, they took everything out of my pocket. They took everything. They put me back in the police car.
Okay, and how long did they hold you down there?
About like 2 hours, two or 2.5, 2 hours and change.
And when they
Two
got
and a half
ready
hours.
to release you, who came to do it? Was it the arresting officers that released you, or was it someone else?
Whoever car they put me back in, he just opened up the door, let me out, gave me a ticket, and then I walked from out of the. When I refused to talk to detectives, they just let me walk out. And I had to find a ride to get picked up, then go to get to the tow yard, to go get my car.
So you had to get a ride. You had to find a ride from downtown.
Yes.
Okay. You have to enlarge the print if you can. We wanted you to do this again so that we could share with folks, because you shared this testimony with the Commission on Police Practices.
Yes.
Okay, and the fact that you had your phone where you were videotaping this thing, they know you were taping them.
Yes. I told them I do that every time I get pulled over for the police, because I don't want to. I know if I didn't have that, and it was just my word versus theirs, this would be all different. I probably would have been in jail. Yeah. And,
Did they try to interfere with you videoing?
no, at the end of the video, if you watch all the way in, he gets kind of irritated. He snatches the phone down and cuts the video off after they searched the car, and they didn't find anything.
Yeah. So moving forward, you're under representation. You all are following up. Your car is back in work, operating order. How's it affect?
The window's still broke. Like they damaged the motor, so I can't really roll the window down, or it's not going to roll back up.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
My question to you is how has it affected you financially, and did it affect your employment?
no, it didn't. I quit my job. Like the next day, I was kind of frustrated. I think I was there too. My family had talked to me about that. 'Cause I was kind of not there mentally, kind of frustrated, angry, and I started drinking a lot for a little bit. But I got out and snapped out of it. I got some decent jobs right now.
Okay, very good. Dr. Warren.
You know, this situation happened about 6 years ago. It might have been longer, in Lemon Grove, and it was at night. And the brother was coming down Mass Avenue, going north to Broadway, and he wouldn't stop until he got to the gas station. And so by this time, they had a bunch of sheriff's cars following him, and he made it clear that he wanted to be in a lighted space where there were people, because he was afraid to stop in the dark with them. They arrested him. Okay, they put him through the same stuff that you went through. It was, I think, on a Thursday, so he spent that whole period. That's what happens in terms of being locked up through the weekend. He lost his job as a result of it, in terms of what happened. The only redeeming part that came out of this was Bonnie DeManis was the DEA at the time, and we put so much attention on this situation. And she looked at it, and she personally got in touch with the employer and got the man's job reinstated because it wasn't done right. Now, I know you filed a complaint with them. It takes them so long. When I editorially covered this week, I made the observation that instead of waiting on the police department, to make the correction, that the city council and the mayor should pass a policy outlawing pretext stops. Now, LA passed a policy in 2021, 22, I believe it was, and they said two conditions, and the cop had to prove in terms of one of them after the stop was made, okay? And so it reduced the numbers. Our big concern here is that we're letting people know what happened to you, number one, giving you an opportunity to tell the story again to a broader audience, because this program will be archived so people can come back to it and see it, number two. And number three, to register that we're going to stay with you through this process in terms of raising questions about how it was handled. One of the reasons I did the editorial approach was because I know from experience that the Police Officers Association writes a lot of the stuff into their contract. They have a provision that says they can't apologize if they are wrong. They're not allowed to apologize. And so, and rarely have I ever seen a police chief go against the POA here. Doesn't happen. That's why I'm pushing for the city council, and we need to petition the council to do a policy outlawing this process. And we need to stay with it. I think your lawsuit needs to include more than just the cost of your window, getting your car back. Is your time you lost from your job as a result of leaving it, whatever the cost is that you have to put up for the council for legal fees. All these things should be grouped into that in terms of it. And this city has a reputation of doing settlements rather than litigating, but they will try to run it to the max so that they can make it as difficult for you as possible. And the most important thing is for you not to give up, no matter what, because they're counting on you giving up. And it's so unfortunate. When I came here, I was a law clerk in the city attorney's office, and I dealt with some of these cases in their training program. And their whole goal is to try to prove that they're not wrong when they know that they're wrong in terms of it. So we want to commend you on the way you handled it. And you're probably alive today because you handled it the way you did.
Yeah.
Okay? Because pretext stops often do just that. They get you to stop for one reason. They say something to tick you off. Then they grab you, and you respond instinctively with, "Don't pull on me." And the moment you do any kind of movement, then that's considered resisting arrest. And now you've gone from a pretext stop to a felony. And that's the goal, is to get you to the felony so the pretext is no longer a part of the record. And so we compliment you on the way you handle it. Is there anything you want to say about this as we go forward with it that, because we want to be of help. We're going to stick with it. We're going to write about it, talk about it, ask about it. But what else would you say? Have you had any more stops?
Before he does that, the one big thing for you at this point is that all eyes are on you. And so this is the time that you have to keep everything clean, straightforward, so that they don't have another reason to stop you or to say, well, this was the original reason.
Right.
So you have to, if this is a time where you don't drink, don't smoke, don't do anything until you finish your case, because anything that you do is going to be scrutinized at this point. And being that you've had a pass, you don't want them to then lean on your pass, waiting for you to make that crucial mistake to get you.
Yeah, that was a whole nother reason why too. Since I've been out too, since the wrongful conviction, I know I've been working and everything, just going to school, getting certificates in my OSHA 10, OSHA 30, CPR. I'm trying to stay clean and stuff like that, so I don't have to be harassed like this.
Okay.
And so that's why I quit the job too. It's just like I'm doing all this to be good, and I still kind of just no matter what I do, I'm be seen as a criminal.
And I hope everybody listening is hearing that it was a wrongful conviction. So this pass that's on record is incorrect. It's a wrongful conviction.
I did when I was younger, 18, and before that, the stupid teenager and stuff like that. But yeah, the last most serious one that sent me to prison, that was all just they made up something just to pick a bunch of people off the streets. And
Well, Mr. Hoskins, I don't know if you know this, but District Attorney Summers Stephan has a program, and there's a program that specializes in exoneration of cases like yours.
Expungement.
Okay, they will expunge the record. They've done it many times so far, and so we will make an inquiry about the program for you as well. And
I spoke to an attorney. I have a public defender for it. Last time I spoke to her, honestly, probably like a month before that incident happened. But they told me it's a waiting list. So they said it might be 9 months to a year until I hear anything back for them to expunge the record. They said so many people right now going back.
but they're saying you have to wait 9 months to a year. That's not so. You don't have to wait.
That's what my public defender told me. She said it was going to take a while for them to get to all the cases.
Since you have a lawyer looking at this, the rest of this, ask him to take a look there. But I will check with the DA about that rule, and we'll get back to you on our
Okay,
end.
thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
but the sooner the better.
Yeah, because that's not supposed to be, and because we just went through this with in Oceanside, we had a situation with some people who, at one point they were stopping all black and Latino males 20 years ago here, and even more recently. And once they stopped you for anything, pretext stop, you could be walking. They opened the trunk, they took your picture, they pulled out the book, and then they listed you as a documented gang member, even though you weren't. They decided that you were a gang member based on where you lived and where you were stopped. And then we had people who had been through the process and had gotten out, straightened their lives out at the bus stop, waiting for a bus, and they get arrested because they're at the bus stop where other people come, and they have no control over who catches the bus there or the trolley. And so we'll look into this from that end, but
Yeah.
I think you handled it well.
Yeah, that thing I was scared about too. I was thinking like, would they have been on that with my son in the car? Son's 12 years old. He's kind of bigger. Black. I don't want them looking at him as a threat. Yeah, because he's in the car with me. And I was just saying now.
How old is your son?
12.
12?
years old.
Okay.
How old is he?
12
Okay,
years old.
okay.
Well, Ms. Hoskin, we want to thank you so much for coming in. We want to thank you for following some proper steps and having the video, allowing us to see the video, allowing even the officers and other officers that have a different mentality about stop and how African-American men are being treated and saying what is right, what is wrong, or what we could do better. The biggest thing is that we're glad that you stayed calm, that you could see another day, and it gives us an opportunity to get it right and get this corrected. So thank you so much for coming on. We're going to stay on top of this. And Dr. Warren, I'm going to pitch it to you if you have any final words.
Well, I'm going to be talking to the new chief soon because I've indicated that he needs to have community meeting where people can come. And when that happens and you see notice of it, I want you to come out, and we want to keep on repeating this as many times as we have to so that you're not alone. There are other people that are caught in the same circumstances because according to their own handout that was done at that particular meeting, statistically, I mean, they've even documented under RIPA that that almost like the profiling study that they do, that the incidents are higher in the daytime because they can see the color of the drivers than it is in the evening. But we know that it's happening in our communities in particular, and so we're going to stay on this, and we're not going to let it go. And we want to thank you for sharing with us. And let your mother know it's in the paper this week.
It was, a few weeks ago. Yeah,
Oh, it was
a few
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, a few weeks
Okay,
ago.
I lost
Yeah.
track of the time. Right, okay. But it's online too. It's still online.
Along with the story
Okay.
related to pretext stops in
Yeah.
your story.
The
Yeah.
whole thing. We'll keep publicizing it for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, very interesting, Dr. Warren. We're still seeing, unjust and things that are taking place with people that, have calmly, literally handle situations. I watched the video multiple times, and through watching the video, he did all the right things. He asked for the right questions, and he stayed very calm through the whole entire thing. Very shocked. I think it shocked us all when the window broke. When the window broke, we were all very, very shocked and almost startled.
Because it was so violent compared to the calmness with which he was handling himself and the situation. It was just such a violent act, unnecessarily
Well,
so.
the whole thing is universal to the police culture. I'm remembering the case in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. The sailor, who was an officer, I think, an ensign, stopped at a gas station. The cop came and wanted him to get out the car, and he didn't. He kept asking. He had set this camera on the dashboard, and he was taping the whole thing. Why do you want me to get out the car? And they would never answer. And the man got indignant and mad and opened the door and forced to pull him out and the whole bit. The gist of the story is that when the powers that be saw the tape and what happened, the officer was fired. But that's not enough. There's still a mentality with all the people that we've had wrongfully executed by the police still don't hesitate to pull a gun on a black person. Alonzo Castillo, where was that, in Missouri, Minnesota?
Minnesota, I think.
In Minnesota.
Yeah.
He was a school employee. He let it be known. His girlfriend's in the car, the child's in the back seat. When the cop comes to the window, he lets it be known that he has a revolver and that he has a license to have the gun in the car. He ends up getting shot multiple times right through the window. He didn't even go for the gun. He just mentioned it, and they shot him and killed him. And so the mentality is one of, if it's a black person, it's okay. And that's why on our call yesterday, when the reference was made to black males being an endangered species, I had to remind people why we are called endangered. Because every other species that is limited has a certain season and a time for hunting, but it's open season on us all the time, year round. And so our message to our listeners is, you need to pay attention to the situation and not wait till it happens to you, your son, your husband, your brother, your cousin, and then get all upset. We need to be upset each time it happens.
Yeah, and my question always comes in is that we clearly said, I heard him say, I'd like a supervisor to be called to the scene. And that is supposed to be an automatic. If there's no immense danger at that point where they can't step back and watch the car and call for a supervisor, but I don't think a supervisor was ever called to the scene.
Well, when they found that he had, even though it was settled, that when they found an indication of a record, they felt that that was their excuse to do anything. And that's not the excuse. They're not in a position to overturn the court system and to do all those kinds of things. So we have to stay with it. And even today, I had a call of another encounter. I haven't had a chance to investigate yet. This is ongoing.
Yeah.
This is ongoing. That's why in the Voice and Viewpoint, years ago, I started publishing a full page, 10 things to do in terms of survival if stopped by the police.
Yeah.
And we have to we're not going to argue. We're going to comply with whatever is said. If it's get on the ground and act like a cockroach, you're going to do it so you can live to fight another day. I raised my son with that attitude. Live to fight another day. Comply, comply, comply.
Well, one of the things about it, and I want to say that these are negative incidents that we have to bring light because, like they say, one apple can spoil the whole bunch. This doesn't represent every officer that we know and we work with, but when you have this mentality that even when you know something is being done wrong, but because you don't want to go against the Blue Brotherhood, you still allow it, or you don't speak up and say, now, I don't do this and I'm not going to let you do it. But because of the silence in the quote-unquote brotherhood, then this continues on. And so that those bad officers then affect the whole entire bunch and get put into the same boat.
And I believe it's also training to me. Just on the face of it, it seems as a training issue, but also how people are vetted to even be allowed to enter the police force. But it's just it's an overwhelming thing because the state gives these people so much
Well,
power.
you just hit on more than you know, Latanya, in terms of saying that, because back in the 80s and the 90s in particular, going back to the 70s, at one point, San Diego was under consent decree with the Department of Justice because it was so bad. And Leonard, you grew up here. There were incidents, I remember reading about it, and I remember Jerry, as president of NAACP, speaking up where they killed a black man in Mission Valley. They had his body laying on the hood of the car, and the officers were taking pictures like it was a trophy
Yeah.
in terms of what took place.
Like they just did a deer hunt.
Yeah. That was the way they were treating it, with that mentality. And so the consent decree was necessary because, and they put it on the border, but they used to recruit from the South and from ex-military coming out of the South. And part of the legitimate excuse in the 80s and 90s was because of what was happening at the border. You know, they killed this DEA agent named Camarello, and it was brutal the way they tortured and murdered him, and it was such a reaction that at the time, the Border Patrol was outmanned and outgunned in terms of the coyotes.
Yes.
So they went and started recruiting.
And the cartels.
Yep. The cartels were, and they started recruiting ex-special forces to be a part of the Border Patrol. And San Diego took the residual of that element onto the police department. And so they brought the mentality of the South here, where if you were black, we got a right to do whatever it is. Cops didn't live in the city. They all lived out of the city. And we had some good officers here at the time, but you also, back in the day of people like Larry Price, which is before your time, I mean, the older people tell you how the police would come into the black neighborhood, make an arrest, and take people to the lumber yard
Yeah.
and beat them up in the lumber yard, as opposed to taking them to jail.
And this was in the 70s, 80s?
Yes.
Like
And that
not in
lump-
1918.
No.
70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And that the lumber yard, wasn't it on like 43rd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did all that.
So they did that in the heart of the community.
Right.
That's the key thing. You know, that ultimately said that the lumberyard owner gave them access
Correct. Right.
within the community.
Because rarely did they get downtown. Now it's a part of the bayfront, you know, the waterfront thing, where they kept that building that was the old police station. But rarely did they get there. Now it's what is it? A cheesecake factory, right? Where next to the Hyatt.
Yeah.
That was the old police station.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't take people down there. So a lot has happened. Even through those periods, we had black police officers who were doing the best they could, but they still were not in positions that the changes have brought people to. I mean, we rose through the system to have like a Roulette Armstead as assistant chief, and we got captains and people now in positions. But in the midst of that, we still have that bad element that's getting there, okay? And that element that wants to do things in the wrong way. And so this is important.
And I think that, you know, when we talk about psychological behavior and psychological response, to me, there was an anger because he was too well versed in the rules.
Oh, yeah, that's the offense to them.
And so even with that, okay, I know how to get them. You know, don't mess with a black man's money, his car, and his woman. You know what I'm saying? So his woman and the money wasn't visible, but the car was. So I'm going to bust his window. If he going to get out of character, he going to get out of character when I bust his window.
And
And
when,
they said
when
he-
we let him go, we still got him because he
Yeah.
got to pay to fix the window.
Yeah. And I hope he remembers the motor because he said something about the motor of the window. I hope he puts that in his.
Yeah, he's got to put all of that in there in terms
Yeah.
of it. Okay. So we are going to stay with that issue. If we move forward, Dr. Thompson, we got a couple of things to mention. Number one, we want to be sensitive to what happened today in Georgia in terms of the school shooting. A 14-year-old killed two teachers, two students. schools on lockdown. The school safety officers in moments were able to get him to surrender, and that didn't help the people who were executed there. And so the Vice President Harris,
Now, Dr. Warren, they're going to ask you what ethnicity was the shooter.
they haven't given his ethnicity, but it was suggested that he might have been Latino.
Okay.
And in terms of the school environment and the community, we still don't know. Matter of fact, as of this evening when they were doing the press conferences, no one could tell us what weapon was used. But it had to be something for him to shoot 13 people, if you will. 4 people dead, 9 hospitalized in a matter of time. And we don't know if he went into just one classroom. Maybe not, since he killed 2 teachers. He might have gone into 2 different classrooms shooting. But whatever he was shooting, I'm pretty sure that it was not a 6-shooter. It could have been a Glock. You know, he's got Glocks carry 15 rounds in the magazine, so that would have been enough for him to shoot all of them. And what did he do with the gun? They said he surrendered the moment they approached him, so he must have given up the weapon. So we don't know yet. We just know that here we go again with the Republicans talking about their prayers and they're for the family, but these are the people like the governor of Texas, when all those kids were killed. The following week, he's at the NRA meeting fighting for gun rights.
Well, let's break it down, Dr. Warren. When we talked earlier today, can you give us just a little breakdown of how many shootings have taken place in schools just this year alone?
Well, I think that the statistics say that it's been about a one every day and a half for about 181, with about 130 people injured and at least 81 killed this school year.
Wow, I didn't know it
alone.
was that many.
But and you understand that the school year just started.
Right. I mean, this calendar year.
Calendar, yeah.
The calendar year from January to now, even though the school year is just started. And so up to this point. And so, again, you know, we're looking at the fact that America is the only country that has this kind of gun violence. And we still have people who don't want to do searches. We still have people fighting the sunset that took place on the magazines. And we still have a court that thinks it's okay to modify the stock on a gun. And this Supreme Court has agreed with that in terms of overturning at a time that a limitation could have been made. So money is still more powerful and important than lives in America, based on the people that are making the decisions.
You mean like the gun makers
the gun
and the
well,
politicians who are
you
being
know,
funded by the lobbyists?
They can't even sue the gun makers. I know that in the case of the kids that were killed in the elementary school up north, I forget exactly where it was, they brought an action against the gun manufacturers. And the idea was to hold the gun manufacturers accountable for making the guns the same way the courts held the tobacco companies on making the tobacco products. And the defense of the industry always has been that the guns don't kill people, that people do, okay? But I believe they went after them under what they call a product liability rule. And so it's going to be an ongoing battle. President Obama we've been trying to get this done forever, and we still have this resistance. And it's a big issue, but it can't be the only issue that we have. So I want to say that. If I can switch from that, though, Dr. Thompson, I want to say something about what happened with the state reparations, because when the reparations bill in California got stalled, it's my understanding that a number of people who are registered as Democrats are taking the attitude that since the Democrats were in control of the legislature, they could have done something to get the reparations bill passed. And so since they didn't, they want to sit out and protest and not vote in terms of the presidential election. And that is a very dangerous attitude to have. California has 52 congressional seats. 40 are Democratic and 12 are Republican. And to engage in such a single issue protest could jeopardize the opportunity for Vice President Harris to win, because we're not considered a battleground state. But if we sit it out, we can become the cause, even if she wins everything else. And so we need to reinforce and tell people, let's live to fight another day. Let's still vote, because every vote counts. Let's get our favorite daughter, California, into the White House, and then we will come back again and fight the reparations bill. But don't stop voting because of what happened to reparations, and try to boycott and sit this election out.
Or if you just think that California is not in play because it's automatically going to be for Kamala, so you don't need to vote just because of that too. I've heard people say that as well.
Well, let's be honest. California, the bigger issue is the undercard. All the elections that are going to go in your cities, in your counties,
Exactly.
Right.
in your the congressional and the Senate seats. Those are the things that are going to have the big impact. So if we can get you out to vote for the presidentship, then you can also focus on the undercard, which is literally what's going to make her presidency effective if we can then get control of the Senate, or keep control of the Senate and add control of the House. So we are yet still a battleground state,
Absolutely,
because
we are.
there are elections that if we lose them, we lose position, and then she becomes a lame duck because she does not have the other bodies of the congressional and the Senate with her.
But the problem is that the Democratic National Committee is not looking at California as a battleground state. And we, the black press, have been repeatedly reminding them that any place that there are black people who can vote should be considered battleground, because everybody black is not going to vote for her just because she's black. And we have family members talking about supporting Trump. We have people that you look at and you wonder if they've hit their head talking about supporting Trump, in spite of all that is going on.
Well, there's a lot of misinformation out there about Trump. One of the things I thought was, I call it cute to the point of ignorance, and it was the wife was saying that her husband was voting for Trump, but she was voting for Kamala. He was voting for Trump because he wanted what were those things? The money. When they gave us money during the pandemic, the kickback with
The rebates and everything.
the rebates and everything like that. And so he wants to vote for him because of that, not realizing that was all tied
It's
to
dumb.
the COVID crisis
Right.
and nothing else. And so, I wanted to say when they were talking to this couple, I just want to say dumb did it, because he did not get the fact that that's not coming back. And all the rebates, all the kickbacks, all the free cash is going to go to the big business, not going to go to the common everyday man.
Well, Trump boasts that he was a billionaire, and it's pointed out that he built that on the back of a $300 million that he got from his father. But during the lifetime of his business, Trump has lost over $900 million and filed bankruptcy at least 7 times. And he's about to go for number 8 with his social media network. And so it was the governor of, I can't remember the state, Illinois.
See, there you go again. They said dumb dead.
The governor of Illinois made the statement, I think it was at the Democratic convention. He says that Trump says he's a billionaire, and he's not. He says, but take it from me, because I'm a real billionaire, and I got more money than he would ever dream of.
Well,
and that just kind of set him off,
I really think that a lot of his supporters seem to just buy into The Apprentice, like this image that he's promoted of himself from way back when. It's just like, that's not real, people. It's not real.
Well, the funny thing is that he's so busy firing everybody that he says 1 minute, I love you and you're amazing. Nobody's like Omarosa. And then the next minute he's saying, oh, she's a hack. She's this, that. If people doesn't get, let this go biblical, and it says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So
yes.
He's unstable in all his ways. And so you do not put an unstable person in the White House ever again.
Well, that's why Liz Cheney has said from the beginning, even when she wrote her book about honor, she makes the observation that he should never be near the Oval Office. And if
Absolutely.
people thought about it, that's the man that has the nuclear codes with him at all times. So you don't know when he's going to wake up and go off. And how are you going to talk about Biden being too old, and now Trump is so old that he can't keep a thought? They start,
Dum did it.
yeah, they start timing how long. So I think next Tuesday is going to be a phenomenal time
Can't
with this
wait.
debate. I think she's going to eat him alive in terms of it. I think she's doing a fantastic job of putting out a platform each time she speaks. The numbers are changing. We're seeing the Republicans coming over, like Liz Cheney made the endorsement a couple of hours ago as she was down at Duke University. And I just kept wondering, because I was going to get a number and call, like, where are you, Liz? Because you don't have a choice.
She was
Well-
going to, I can't imagine she wasn't. She was just planning when she was going
Yeah.
to
Well, you
endorse
know,
her.
the one thing that I would say is simply this. When Keisha in Atlanta said, Mayor Keisha said, I wish he would just be quiet or stop talking. I think that we're seeing that on both Vance and him. The more that they talk, the more that you realize what they don't know and how ignorant that they're going to come across and everything. Whereas you have the vice presidential, he's coming in and said, we're stronger together. Let's go. Let's get it done. So I see them right now imploding. They got their toys. They're upset because people don't want to play with their toys anymore. Because there's a newer version out there. And so they're coming off very harsh. And so they got to attack. I think I'm better looking. Really? So now you're comparing yourself that nothing about intellect, nothing about how you had to go and create a degree, you know what I'm saying, and buy a degree, let's not talk about all this stuff. And then here's another crazy thing. When you have a vice presidential candidate that says that we're teaching our kid Hindu and Catholicism, but we're doing all of it at the same time. Again, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So they're all over the place. And then they're going to say, we're going to make America great again, but I'm not seeing it.
Well, I
They
think-
really mean we're going to make America white again.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the Harris-Walz campaign just has pivoted so quick. I mean, just the fact that she did all that she did in this short period of time shows her leadership right there. And the way that they have just taken the narrative and just turned it on its head. I mean, they can't come back with anything. But the thing that she needs to really be concerned about, I think, the debate is just the lies that come out so quickly. That's what happened during Biden's debate. There was so much there. It's like, which one do you go for? So I hope
I don't think
preparing
she's
for
going to.
that.
She's not going to respond to his lies, just like she did with Dana Bass on the
Yeah.
interview on CNN.
She handled
when
that well.
she says something. She says, "Next question."
Yeah, next question.
Okay.
And Dana was like, really?
Yeah,
It's
because
like,
Dana,
yeah.
that was stupid question on her part.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think what's going to be funny is when she does the counseling moment and she says, there, Donald, take a deep breath. I think if she does that, drop the mic,
oh my
it's going
goodness.
to be,
He
there,
wouldn't be
there.
able to handle that. Oh
And
my
then-
gosh.
And she jumps out and says, dum, did it? I'm just going to tell you, I will be up there applauding all the way through.
Well,
Now-
we've used up our time again,
wow, it's
but
already time.
we're excited. We got so much to still cover. September is going to be a very exciting month here. We've got a lot of great guests lined up. We're going to be dealing with the importance of voter registration. But before we go, I want to tell you that if you missed Jazz at the Creek, then you missed a great event.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to encourage you to pick up the paper this week. We have a salute to Dr. Thompson for the outstanding job that he did. Everything was professional,
So
first
professional.
class, and
class,
it was the
top-notch
kind of thing
talent.
that people pay money. Earth, Wind, and Fire might have been down at the Shell, but they didn't have anything on what was happening over there at ECC.
Definitely not.
Yeah, and so
And the
we
venue
thank you
was
for that tremendous event, Dr. Thompson, and we know you're going to continue. We're going to start preparing to support it even now, getting ready for next year.
Well, Dr. Warren, thank you so much for you all support. 13 years, and we've been, like they say, 10 toes deep. 13 years, The Voice and Viewpoint has been with us. And so that's what it's all about. I think that we highlighted the best in our community. And I always tell people that it takes time for people to go over. But I do want to say to y'all, don't be left on the shores when the door is closed. Because see, there are a lot of people that lost everything, including their life, because they waited for the storm to come. Well, the storm is already here. It's not going to pass over. We're moving in southeastern San Diego. Y'all better come on and get on board this, because the overflow is about ready to happen.
The train is coming. You don't need a ticket. Just get on board.
Get on board.
All right.
With that being said, this is from the desk of the editor with none other than Dr. John Warren and Miss LaTanya West. The Voice and Viewpoint, y'all pick it up. You know, it's getting more and more interesting. It's getting hotter than fish grease. Y'all pick it up, buy one, and just take one, and we'll appreciate you.
And
Till
go
next week.
online to get it. It's
Yes.
online.
Yes. See, there's a bargain right there. Go online.
Yeah.
With that being said, y'all have a blessed evening. Take care.